So what is Express and why do we use it? Well, I briefly mentioned it. Writing all that server-side logic is pretty complex. Just remember what we had to do to parse an incoming request. For extracting the body, we manually had to listen to the data event, to the end event, and then create a buffer, which we in the end converted to a string. And this was just one type of data we could get. If we get other kinds of data, like for example, we get a file or differently structured data, then we would have to write new logic. Now, Express.js helps us with that. It actually doesn't have a built-in way of handling or parsing that data, but it makes it easy to install another package that can easily be hooked into our project that will then do the parsing for us. And you will see what I mean in a second. We, in general, don't want to care about all these nitty-gritty details. We want to focus on our code that defines our application. So the thing that really sets our application apart from other applications, our unique selling point, you could say. And we do use a framework for this, for all the heavy lifting. A framework is basically a set of helper functions, but also a suite of tools and rules with which we work. So basically, we have a clearly defined way, or at least some outline on how we should structure our application, our code, and how we should work with that framework to write clean code. And of course, I will teach you all of that for Express.js in this module. So Express.js helps us with that, and this is why we will dive into it here. Now, of course, Express.js is not the only package or framework you can use for Node.js that will help you write better Node.js code and focus on your business logic. Now, for one, you could, of course, stick to vanilla Node.js. We only use that thus far, and of course, that works. And depending on the complexity of your application or the level of challenges you are seeking, you can absolutely stick to vanilla Node.js. You can theoretically write everything on your own just with that. There also are other frameworks you could use. For example, there is Adonis.js. Now, if you ever used Laravel for PHP, this is basically a Laravel-inspired framework for Node.js, but not from the same creators. There also is Koa or Sales.js, and there are many more. You can basically Google for Express.js alternatives, and you will find plenty of blog posts diving into the different alternatives and what their strengths and weaknesses are. But Express.js is by far the most popular and most often used one, which is why I will also teach it here. The great thing about Express is that it's highly flexible. It actually doesn't add too much functionalities out of the box, but it gives you a certain way of building your application or of working with the incoming requests that make it highly extensible, and therefore there are dozens or hundreds and thousands of third-party packages built for Express specifically that you can then easily add to your Node Express application without having to configure a lot. And this is probably the real strength of Express. And of course, it also does add some nice features out of the box. So why don't we just install it and take a closer look ourselves?